there's no legitimacy left for Zionism. It doesn't have a grassroots base in this country outside of a few mega churches. It really just, it's a dying force. It's purely a top-down authoritarian phenomenon that can only be imposed. And the New York City election is the best evidence of the dimming prospects of Zionists controlling parts of this country through democratic means. The election of Zohran Mamdani, 33-year-old assembly member and kind of influencer, has really triggered one of the biggest Zionist meltdowns I've seen since October 7th. And it's a sign of the times. They're not going to be able to bring back the old regime. Israel is a liability.
And amazingly, in this race, Andrew Cuomo, who was Mamdani's top opponent, tried to make Israel for him an asset. Like, he really went hard in going after Mamdani for his views on Israel, thinking that would help him in the campaign. And he's just been shown by the voters that it actually really hurt him, especially really, really motivated young people who came out to support Mamdani. Yeah. And my favorite part is seeing all these Democratic leaders now going out of their way to praise Mamdani and congratulate him. People like Chuck Schumer, who's like congratulated Mamdani and said, "I can't wait to work with you and to make New York City more affordable." And if Mamdani had lost, I guarantee you, Chuck Schumer would have come out and said, "Thankfully, the people of New York rejected anti-Semitism." But he can't. He realizes where the wind is blowing. So now he even has to acknowledge that Mamdani represents his constituency, Chuck Schumer's constituency, and it's going to be a real problem for Democrats who are so tied at the hip to Israel. I mean, look what Joe Biden did. Spent the latter half of his presidency facilitating mass murder on Israel's behalf and blocking all opportunities to end it. Their base is so out of sync with that. And so Mamdani's victory, as you said, represents, a huge repudiation of their devotion to Zionism, and a real problem for them because they're still beholden to all the same kinds of donors that Donald Trump is.
This is a defeat for Bill Clinton and the Clinton wing of the Democratic Party, but Bill Clinton has praised him. This was a definite defeat for Chuck Schumer, who just a few weeks ago was attacking Taco Trump for being too friendly to Iran and potentially moving too close to a deal. And what Clinton and Schumer are doing here is devious, but smart from their point of view. They're not stupid. They want to co-opt Mamdani the same way that they co-opted AOC. Now, AOC, they may not like all of her positions. They think she's too progressive. She may lead the Democratic Party in a direction they might not want to go by impeaching Trump over starting a war instead of impeaching Trump over not starting a war. That's what Schumer would prefer to do, as he did with Ukraine. But generally, AOC's been reined in and a productive player. They successfully played to her vanity by putting her on the cover of, was it Vogue or Vanity Fair, with Mama Bear Nancy Pelosi. And they want to do the same thing with Mamdani. They don't take him that seriously, possibly with good reason. And I can see that he's already been groomed. His messaging is becoming more and more moderate. But I don't want to. I don't want to get too. I don't want to try to impute an agenda to him that he might not have.
Look, he's not in an easy position. It's not easy to run for any political office, especially mayor of New York City. So, look, being a politician, it's a different ball game. You have to people do have to make compromises. It's really difficult. So I think he's been pretty smart from what I've seen. I don't see another AOC in the making. And even AOC, you could argue, plays a role that sometimes has positive things. I don't think everything she does is negative. But look, what's absolutely true is that for the first time I've seen in Democratic politics in a long time, there's a motivated grassroots energy, and there's the understanding that Zionism is toxic, and that's a net positive. Whatever happens with Mamdani next. And certainly, I mean, imagine what the pro-Israel donors are going to do now. They're going to come after him really, really hard, and I think make it difficult for him to win in November. I don't think it's guaranteed he's going to win the mayor's office, but he strikes me, for what it's worth, as being pretty capable. And I like, even on the answer of like, at the mayoral debate, when they tried to get him to affirm that Israel has a right to exist, he said, yeah, with equal rights for all. I thought it was a brilliant answer. And it showed that everyone demanding that everyone say Israel has a right to exist, that they don't support equal rights for all. They support an apartheid state. So, yeah.
Well, he toned that down in the days before the primary on Colbert, but he's smoothly deflected Colbert's interrogation,
which was so sleazy. I mean, Colbert is like a parody of
he's a parody of his former self,
his former
which was a parody of like a conservative corporate broadcaster like O'Reilly.
Yeah.
But we can play that in a second. But Zohran Mamdani, he's 33. His father is an academic from Uganda who produced some very influential work on colonialism. And
his father's awesome.
Getting some kind of mess. Yeah, his book, Good Muslim, Bad Muslim, influenced my book, The Management of Savagery.
He also was really pivotal. I remember, back when I was at Democracy Now!, he basically came on the show to say that, like, we had been spreading pro-regime change propaganda in Libya. And he was right. And so, that's what I associate him as being, like, that rare intellectual inside the academy, like prestigious academy, that like has been consistently principled. He also helped expose his father, all the deceptions around Darfur, how that was being used and for cynical ways. Like, remember back when 20 years ago, Darfur was like the big issue for like young liberals.
The Darfur industrial complex.
Exactly. And he
was run by Charles Jacobs, who was an Israel lobbyist.
There you go. And I remember he was instrumental in exposing that too. So I've been a fan of his father's work for a long time.
His mother did the film The Namesake, and I think she did Monsoon Wedding. So she was a filmmaker. So you could see from early on that filmmaking skills were being applied in his ads. I think we highlighted one of his early ads. It was very effective in speaking across kind of class and party lines in New York.
Yeah, after Kamala lost, he went, I think it was Queens, and spoke to just working class voters about why they didn't vote for Kamala. It's an amazing video. Yeah, he's actually interested in speaking to people.
And he's got like the Obama charisma, except he seems a little more personable. He always tilts his head to look interested in you. There's a soft filter on everything that's being shot. His wife is a Syrian American artist who spread regime change propaganda about Syria. He has, these DSA tendencies that I think make it easy for right wingers to parody some of his positions. And I'm never, ever going to trust a DSA supported candidate, a DSA cultivated candidate again. I'm very skeptical of anyone that the DSA puts forward. I hold the DSA. I just look at them with total suspicion for claiming to be socialists, but linking themselves to the tail of the Democratic Party. They signed the statement with other NGO-y type groups ahead of the Democratic Convention, basically asking the Democratic Party and Kamala to suspend weapons to Israel, but never said that they would suspend their votes or withhold their votes, and identified as Democrats. So, and they produced AOC, and they produced some even more suspect candidates. And then when AOC violated various DSA resolutions on war, on BDS, on Israel, they never kicked her out of the party because they need to be tailing the Democrats no matter what. So I'm not going to just come out and join this festival of narcissism about taking over New York for socialism. It's not going to happen on my part, but I'm loving the Zionist meltdown. I'm loving the Wall Street meltdown, and it's a sign of the times. He is representative of the future of American politics, in which Zionism has lost all credibility and Israel is a liability. Zohran Mamdani's victory in New York primary leaves Wall Street alarmed and depressed.
Yeah, and that's why I'm joining this festival. I don't think it's a festival of narcissism. I mean, like in any movement, you can find things to make fun of, and this. But I look, the fact that prominent Zionists are so triggered, I think that's, to me, like a reason in itself to rejoice. And I understand your skepticism, but I do think in this guy there's something different than in other cases. But we'll see. Time will tell.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I'm not going to just celebrate until we see something different, but I will celebrate what it means. And yeah, I don't trust Democratic Party politicians, especially ones that are like 15 years younger than me. Sorry, it's just not going to happen. And, again, this guy's not Obama. In many ways, it's a defeat for Obama. Where has Obama been? But many of the same elements are celebrating in the same way. So it just triggers me. Let's look at some of the meltdowns, though. I mean, they're looking for another candidate. The neocons and Zionists in New York. And one of the biggest opponents, obviously, is Bill Ackman. And this is one of the funniest takes I've seen. Ayaan Hirsi Ali, neoconservative think tank DEI hire, Ayaan Hirsi Ali. The answer is looking you in the face. You are the best candidate to run against Mamdani, the Michael Bloomberg of 2025, a dedicated New Yorker and the opposite of this guy in every respect. She's talking to Bill Ackman.
No.
He wrote a long thing, just a long post on X.
Yeah, listen. So one of the things that Bill Ackman takes issue with is that Mamdani refused to renounce the term "globalize the Intifada." You think AOC and all these other people, would ever defend the term "globalize the Intifada" or would call for equal rights inside Palestine? I mean, that's why I do see something different.
If they're running now for a position, a municipal position, they might, because that's just where we are politically. That's where New York is. That's where Bushwick is and where Harlem is and all these other areas where people are just sick of Israeli genocidal garbage being rammed down their throats. AOC ran at a different time, voted present on Iron Dome. She was in Congress. You're going to get threatened much harder in Congress. But let's see what happens when he actually legislates. I think his principal enemy, aside from the Ackman Zionist billionaire crowd, will be the NYPD, which destroyed Bill de Blasio's tenure as mayor. They're like an army, they're like a city within the city, a government within a government. But Bill Ackman, I would love to see him run for mayor. That would be a great idea, because let's bring the Zionist billionaires out from behind the curtain and put the spotlight on them and see what they really believe and who they really are. And then we can start scrutinizing them in public and talk about his wife's involvement with Jeffrey Epstein to produce a strange orb as a gift for Epstein on behalf of her MIT Innovation Lab in exchange for a large Epstein donation. Let's talk about how Bill Ackman made his money and how he shorts companies like Nike by accusing them of anti-Semitism. Let's talk about his proposal for making New York more affordable when he lives in a $14 million penthouse overlooking Central Park. I mean, who are these people? They were the ones who had a WhatsApp group of 50 Zionist billionaires. I mean, you can't, if an anti-Semite with an extremely feverish imagination couldn't have made this up. 50 Zionist billionaires had a WhatsApp group after October 7th where they plotted to control Eric Adams, staged counterinsurgency ops against protesters, paid for private detectives to investigate Columbia students in cooperation with the NYPD, and pushed the NYPD to act more harshly. We're talking about, remember who I mentioned before, Len Blavatnik? Russian-Israeli billionaire Len Blavatnik, who set up like a special school at Oxford to give Bill Clinton a position, but also donated to Trump. So he became kind of roped into the Russiagate scandal. Daniel Lubitsky of the guy who does Kind bars, which are disgusting and not good for you, and as like the only food you can get at Starbucks that isn't over 1,000 calories. I mean, all these Zionist billionaires were plotting schemes, and Bill Ackman was at the heart of it. That's what they think democracy is. And suddenly they don't have a mayor who's going to take their WhatsApp messages anymore. Whatever Mamdani does, I don't think he's going to go as far as Eric Adams, who's just their ultimate tool. So they're trying to get behind Adams. Adams is their guy. Eric Adams, who was a subject of foreign influence from countries from Turkey to Israel to Qatar to China. Everybody was paying him and everybody was lining his pockets for favors. The Trump administration lets him off the hook in exchange for basically supporting Trump and letting ICE into the city. That's the guy they're all going to back against Mamdani. It's going to be Mamdani against Adams. And meanwhile, there's just I'm sure there's like tons and tons of Zionist billionaire money pouring in. And, here's David Frum, who kind of represents the Democrats now, even though he was a Republican Bush speechwriter who should be in jail for his role in the Iraq War. One of the aspects of the British experience with Jeremy Corbyn that is already being repeated here, people with zero or worse regard for Jewish life and Jewish safety, scolding actual Jews about how wrong and stupid we are about Jewish life and Jewish safety. So they're going to try to Corbyn Mamdani.
And the lesson from Corbyn is don't give them an inch.
Yeah.
As Corbyn unfortunately didn't do. He did give them an inch and they took a mile. Hopefully Mamdani will follow a different course.
And what I would say about the DSA is they've been a better kind of grassroots or a better vehicle for Mamdani than like Momentum was for Jeremy Corbyn. And there's no Owen Jones within DSA who's stabbing Mamdani in the back as Owen Jones did to Corbyn.
Or Paul Mason,
Yeah.
And
So-
look, I live in New York, so I've seen it, and the energy is it's great to see people are involved, they're excited, and like Gaza is a major issue for people. It's not the only one, but it's a big one. And whatever happens, that energy and that repudiation of Zionism in a really important city like New York is a net positive thing.
Yeah, this whole thing of Jewish safety from is ironic in light of what's been happening in Israel, where it's pretty clear that's the least safe place for Jews to live. I spent time in Iran with Jews. They're much safer in Iran than they are in Israel. They were until Israel started bombing them. Israel bombed Jews in Iran. And now you see all this hysteria with rich Zionists in New York talking about leaving. They're all going to leave New York if Mamdani's elected. Here's a New York Times piece that.
What's funny is they would never go to Israel. They would
exactly.
Yeah. So they want to use Israel and prop it up, but they'll never actually go live there because they just, I don't know what it is. They like the idea of this like Jewish supremacist state, but they prefer still to live here.
They want it to be, they need an embattled Jewish state to give them an identity here while they live in total safety. They need the U.S. to recognize Jewish safety and prioritize Jewish safety and make Jewish safety paramount and ram Holocaust education down the throats of Black students in public schools every day. And they get to support an ethno-supremacist state over there. This is the New York Times. Mamdani's victory spotlights a deepening rupture among U.S. Jews. And the last quote is just, I think it's the...
Zoom in a little bit so it's a little larger.
Wait, yeah. On private text chains and WhatsApp groups, Jewish voters circulated mock ballots showing Cuomo ranked first to stop Mamdani's rise. I love how they say Jewish voters. I think they mean Zionists because so many Jews in New York voted for Mamdani who are younger, more progressive. Social media influencers with large pro-Israel followings circulated Mamdani's past statements about Israel, saying he would threaten Jewish safety in the city. I feel like last night's New York City election result is like a spiritual crystal knock. It proved Jew hatred is okay now. posted Jill Kargman, a Jewish writer and actress. After Mamdani won, dark jokes circulated on some of the same chains about moving out of the city. Do you know who Jill Kargman is?
I definitely do not know who Jill Kargman is. Yeah.
It's a spiritual crystal knock. What's he going to do? Like, what do they think he's going to do?
Well, he's just Muslim and brown to begin with, so that's scary to them. Just the fact that a brown Muslim guy is poised to be in a position of power, that's enough for them to feel unsafe. And then the fact that he sees Palestinians as human beings. Yeah, no, of course, there's no thought as to what he's actually going to do. Like, and of course, he's going to moderate his rhetoric if he takes office. That's what everybody does. So, I mean, what can you say about these people? But I hope some of them do take up their fear mongering and actually leave. I mean, New York would be a much better place if they did leave. I hope they.
Well, it'd help him make good on his promise to lower the rent.